Hello, and welcome to another one of my videos. This time, I'll be talking about shared ownership. Shared ownership is a key part of the government's affordable housing strategy. It offers people the ability to purchase a share in a property whilst paying rent to the organisation who owns the remaining share, typically a housing association. The scheme's main benefits are lower deposit requirements, as the deposit is only required based on the share the customer is purchasing. Ability to purchase more of the property when they're able to afford it in a process called staircasing. Potential to limit stamp duty payments. An ability to take the scheme on new build properties. It should be noted that whilst you own a percentage of the property, you will be responsible for all of the property's upkeep in terms of maintenance, cleaning, repairs, etc. In order to be eligible for the scheme, you must either be a first-time buyer, unable to afford a home suitable for your needs on the open market, or a previous homeowner who can no longer afford one, have a household income less than 80,000 or 90,000 in London, be aged 18 or over, and purchase between 25 and 75% of the property initially. Most properties that are purchased under the shared ownership scheme are new build, but there is still a significant market for existing shared ownership properties being resold. What options are there for mortgage finance? Whilst not every lender will accept shared ownership applications, there are a wide range of national lenders and a number of smaller building societies who are able to lend. The exact providers and their criteria can change, so it's best to speak to a mortgage advisor in order to understand what's available. If you need a mortgage to purchase a property, you'll typically require a deposit, starting at just 5%, a key reason for the appeal of the scheme. The journey to purchasing a shared ownership property will typically begin with a housing association. These organisations are likely to be the first point of contact for a shared ownership property. They'll talk you through the details of the scheme, but they cannot give advice as to where to access the mortgage they will require to purchase the property. And as a result, they will advise you to attain independent financial advice, e.g., a mortgage broker. This advice benefits you as being able to see deals from a wider choice of lenders best increases the opportunity for you to find a product that meets your individual circumstances. So how do you buy a shared ownership property? The first step is likely to be through a housing association. However, that doesn't mean finding a property has to be any more difficult than finding a standard residential property. In fact, it could be as simple as visiting a new home site. Shared ownership is a popular method of affordable housing that many local authorities insist housing developers build as part of new projects. Then there are traditional websites such as Rightmove and Zoopla, where customers can search for properties, and bespoke websites such as sharetobuy.com that advertise shared properties exclusively. When you've found a property that you're interested in, the process for purchasing shares is similar to the standard house buying process, with only a few differences. Step 1. View the property. Step 2. Approval. Financial assessment by a Homes England approved independent financial advisor. You're then given guidance as to the share that you're able to purchase, and the offer to purchase is made. Then we find a mortgage. Then we find a solicitor to handle the conveyancing process, and then exchange of contracts and completion. Once people buy a shared ownership property, many will simply maintain their position, paying their mortgage and their rent. Historically, shared ownership was sold on the basis that one day a customer can purchase more shares and eventually own their property 100%. This is true, but for some people, that's not their desired or expected outcome. In this section, we'll explore what you can do when in your property. Staircasing. This is a process where you buy a larger share of your property in minimum increments of 10%. This means that you'll own a larger share of the property, and as a result, you'll pay less rent. staircase, you must approach the housing association and a valuation will be required, as additional shares are based on the property's current value. When the valuation is confirmed, you'll then be expected to provide funds for the purchase. The easiest way for this would typically be to remortgage and obtain further borrowing. Otherwise, purchasing additional shares is broadly the same in terms of requiring solicitors as a new purchase. As a result of the requirement for valuations each time you want to purchase the additional shares, many people will try to minimise the number of times they staircase. A popular option is to remortgage and buy out the entire remaining share, thus becoming a standard residential customer. Remortgaging. The remortgage process is broadly the same as staircasing. Again, you must first approach the housing association in order to obtain permission. The housing association will usually say yes to this, unless you're intending on remortgage for the purposes of debt consolidation. After this permission is granted, the process they follow is much like any standard remortgage. Selling the property. There is an active resale market for shared ownership homes. To sell the property, the customer must first again contact the housing association. Sometimes they reserve the right to find a buyer for the property for a period, typically 8 weeks. This is driven by the fact that there are often waiting lists for shared ownership properties. If the housing association does not find a buyer, you're free to advertise the property on the open market through an estate agent of your choice. You're then able to sell the property for the share that you own, and the property will be sold on a shared ownership basis. When the property is sold, you can then use the equity to purchase another shared ownership property if you wish, or to go and purchase a mainstream residential property. So as you see, a shared ownership home can be an excellent purchase and a great way of getting out of generation rent and becoming a homeowner. Thanks very much for watching, and I hope you found this video useful. Please feel free to make any comments below, and if you'd like to see more, please subscribe. And if I can be of any help in any way possible, please visit my website, contact me, and I'll be delighted to help.